The sky over Sector 9 burned orange as a silent ship drifted through the upper clouds. Below, shadows moved through broken buildings, broken dreams, and cold wind. The air tasted like ash. Humanity had not surrendered, but they had stopped speaking. The aliens thought that meant fear. They were wrong. From the upper ruins of the old Earth Observatory, a tall alien woman crouched in silence. Her skin shimmered with a violet glow. Her long, sharp fingers rested on her weapon. Her black cloak waved lightly with the breeze. People called her Commander Ryzel. She called herself a ghost. A watcher. She had studied humans for years. She had seen them build weapons with scraps. She had seen them cry over the dead. She had watched them risk their lives for children not their own. But tonight, they were different. They moved faster, smarter, quieter. A patrol of her own kind was already late. That never happened. Ryzel tilted her head and pressed her cum bead. No signal, only static. She frowned. Her golden eyes scanned the cracked ground. Then she saw it, a smear of blood, not alien, but hers, purple, still fresh. Her soldiers were just missing. They were gone. Down in the dark alley near the old metro lines, a man in ripped armor stepped over a fallen drone. His name was Cain. Once a soldier, now a rebel. He carried no flag. Only a knife and a promise to his sister, who vanished. When the aliens came, tonight he hunted. Tonight he was not afraid. He signaled to the shadows. 4 more humans stepped forward, silent, focused, dirty and cold, but eyes sharp like fire. They moved like they knew the land better than the sky. One of them carried a pack full of explosives. Another held a strange alien scanner salvaged from last week's wreck. The plan was simple. Strike their base. Vanish. Ryzel moved through the tower's lower floors, watching the ruins. She still believed no human could outsmart a Sha'tari officer. But then she heard it. A deep thump underground, followed by screams, alien screams. Her kind. She ran. By the time she reached the tunnel opening near the tram tracks, it was too late. Fire danced inside the command tent. 2 Sha'tari guards lay dead, throats slit, their weapons missing, their data cores stolen. The attackers didn't just come for blood, they came for information. Ryzel clenched her teeth. It was no longer a rebellion. It was war. Marcus crouched near a rusted fuel tank, breathing steady. The mission was done. But something kept gnawing at him. He looked behind. A shadow moved too smooth for a bird, too fast for wind. He raised his blade. But the thing was gone. Only footprints in the ash. Not human. Not heavy. She was following them. Ryzel didn't understand her curiosity. She had dozens of drones to do this work. She could have called a full strike on these humans. But something inside her wanted to see how far they'd go. Why they'd risk death for an old server core. What made them dangerous? She watched Marcus lead his team toward the hills. Toward the forest edge. They had something important. She needed to know what. Suddenly, a loud click echoed through the trees. A trap. One of the humans stepped on it. A net of electric threads shot up, wrapping the man mid-air. He screamed. Not in fear, but warning. Run. Ryzel expected panic. Instead, the others turned back. They didn't run. They fought. One girl jumped onto the trap post and hacked the energy box with her bare hands. Sparks flew. Another tossed smoke to cover their retreat. They dragged the man out and vanished into the woods. All in under 12 seconds. Ryzel blinked. These humans weren't broken. They were preparing. She whispered into her cum bead. Bring reinforcements. They've changed. Back at their hidden camp, Marcus removed his helmet. Blood dripped from his temple, but he smiled. They had the Sha'tari base map. He plugged it into a rusted tablet, and blue lights glowed across the screen. Weak points. Energy flow, command nodes. Everything they needed. They weren't running anymore. They were choosing the battlefield. In the dark treetops, Ryzel perched like a silent bird. She should have reported them. She should have marked their location for the gunships. But her hands didn't move. Her eyes didn't blink. What she felt, she couldn't explain. Curiosity? Doubt? Or something more dangerous? Respect for the first time in years, she felt uncertain. Not because of their weapons, but because of their fire, their will. Their bond, she whispered to herself. Tonight, the humans fight back. And for the first time in her life, the Watcher felt afraid. Asterisk smoke still lingered in the trees when Ryzel returned to the upper ridge. Her soldiers arrived too late. The human rebels had vanished like mist. No trail, no noise. Only one thing remained, a carved symbol burned into a stone slab near the exit. It was not in any known language, but Ryzel understood its meaning clearly. We are not done. Back in her command post, the air felt colder than usual. The other Sha'tari officers stood in silence as she entered. None dared question her failure, but she could see the looks. Quiet judgment, hidden doubt. She didn't care. Ryzel only cared about what she saw in the humans' eyes. They weren't afraid of her anymore. Meanwhile, deep in the old ruins beneath the mountain edge, Marcus and his team checked the stolen data. The map they pulled from the Sha'tari server showed something they didn't expect. Not just troop positions. Not just weapons storage. It showed holding cells. Dozens. Hundreds. Prisoners, whispered Sarah, the youngest rebel on the team. Civilians, some from the first wave of capture. That was over 5 years ago. Marcus clenched his fists. They're still alive, and they're close. He looked at the blinking red zone on the map. The prison complex was buried under the central Sha'tari base, the place no one dared enter. Until now, we go in 3 nights, Marcus said. Ryzel studied the same map on her side, but hers was incomplete. Some of the command codes were disabled. They had been erased by the humans' attack. She ordered her tech crew to rebuild the firewall, but even they looked worried. No alien had ever seen humans hack Sha'tari systems so fast. So clean. In her private chamber, she replayed the forest ambush again and again. Each time she watched Marcus move. His body. His eyes. His decisions. She didn't know why, but it stirred something inside her. Not just curiosity now, admiration. In the forest clearing near the southern slope, the rebels trained under moonlight. They had little food, but they had purpose. They practiced quiet steps, trap setups, code cracking. Sarah built a jammer using alien scraps and a solar panel from an old children's toy. It worked. For 10 seconds, they could disappear from any scanner. That was enough. 3 nights later, they moved. The wind howled. The stars vanished under thick clouds. They approached the outer wall of the prison. No alarms. No patrols. Something felt wrong. Inside the command tower, Ryzel watched their every step through a hidden drone. She had cleared the outer section herself, removed the guards, turned off the auto turrets. She wanted to see them up close, understand them, but part of her also wanted them to succeed. The humans cut through a side gate and slipped into the service tunnels. Marcus led the way. Their boots made no sound. Sarah's scanner blinked green. They were unseen. For now, they found the first cell dot. It was worse than they imagined. Starved men, children with blank eyes, old women barely breathing. Yet when they saw Marcus, something changed in their faces. Light returned. "Hope, we're here to take you home," he said. The rebels spread through the tunnel, unlocking cells, carrying the weak. Their mission had turned into a rescue, and Ryzel watched every moment in silence. She stood near the prison tower, cloaked, invisible, listening, feeling. Then an alarm screamed out, not hers. Another officer had discovered the breach. Fighters deployed, drones activated. The humans were about to be trapped inside with no exit. Ryzel made a choice. She stepped out of the shadows and walked straight into the control room. "Shut the gate," one of her men shouted. "We'll crush them here." "No," she said. "What?" Ryzel pulled out her plasma blade and cut through the command console. Sparks exploded. Lights died. Her own men stared in horror. "They get one chance," she said coldly. "They earned it." In the tunnels, Marcus felt the power flicker and die. Drones shut down mid-air. The auto gates unlatched. For a moment, the path ahead opened. He didn't know why, but he didn't stop to question it. He led the refugees through the escape tunnel, hearts pounding. Just before he vanished into the trees, he turned back. For a moment, he thought he saw something in the tower. A figure watching, but the shadows closed again. Back at the rebel camp, fire crackled. Survivors slept under the stars, safe, for now. Marcus sat beside the old transmitter dish and looked at the map again. The mission was far from over. But they had proved something to the galaxy tonight. Humans don't just survive, they fight. And somewhere, high above the planet, in a Sha'tari cruiser now marked with treason, Ryzel stared at the stars. She had defied her people. For what? An enemy? A cause? No, for truth. Because tonight, she saw it with her own eyes. The fire of humanity was not weak, that it was awakening. The stars above Earth were no longer silent. Sha'tari warships moved slower now, their patrols doubled. The commanders whispered of unrest. And at the center of it all, one name kept spreading between officers. Marcus Cain. They called him the Ghost of the Ruins. A rebel who escaped a locked prison. Who hacked into their systems. Who freed the captives and vanished like smoke. The High Command wanted him erased. But not Ryzel. She stood in front of a tribunal of her own kind. Cold eyes, sharp armor. The judges accused her of disabling their security. She didn't deny it. She only stared back. "I made a decision," she said. "You would not understand it. You betrayed your command. I followed something higher." The council stripped her rank and sent her to exile on the warship Zareth 6. She didn't protest. She had already made her choice. Her path no longer followed orders. It followed the fire she saw in those human eyes. Far below, on the surface, Marcus and his team prepared for the next strike. The refugees they rescued had been moved to a hidden bunker under the old mining tunnels. Food was short. Medicine was almost gone. But their spirits grew stronger. Some of the rescued began to train. They picked up weapons. They studied Sha'tari movement patterns. They weren't broken people anymore. They were ready to fight. Sarah modified a stolen drone. It now worked as a decoy emitting false signals to confuse enemy radars. Marcus tested it on an abandoned base. It worked. The Sha'tari chased shadows while he and his team slipped in through the back. Each raid gave them supplies. Each strike made the enemy angrier, and Ryzel watched every move from afar. On Zareth 6, she had access to hidden feeds. Old backdoors. Only a high-level officer would know. She watched as the humans dismantled her people's pride, piece by piece. Not with stronger weapons, but with stronger will. She stared at Marcus's face on the screen. His jaw bruised, his eyes tired, but his hands never shook. His voice never cracked. She had seen fear before, but not in him. Never in him. On the 5th night, Marcus's team received a signal. Weak, broken. A human voice. One they hadn't heard in years. "Help. Trapped. Sector 11. Coordinates. Please hurry." It was Marcus's sister. He froze. She had been taken during the first invasion. He thought she was dead. The signal was weak, but it matched her voice. Sarah checked the frequency. It came from a transport station deep in the Sha'tari zone. A trap? Maybe. But he couldn't ignore it. They had one night to plan. One chance to reach her. Ryzel heard the same signal. She didn't know the girl, but she recognized the tone. Real pain, real desperation. Her fingers hovered over the screen. She knew where Marcus would go next. And she knew it was a suicide run. But still she watched, that night, under a sky lit. With quiet lightning, Marcus and 3 others moved across the wasteland. The wind howled like a living thing. They reached the old station. Dead silent. Dust clung to the walls like old memories. They found the signal source, a cage dot inside. A girl weak, but alive, pale, but her eyes widened when she saw Marcus. Cain? She whispered. He ran to her dot, then everything exploded. Drones dropped from the ceiling. Sha'tari guards surrounded them. It had been a trap, but the girl was real, a living bait. Marcus raised his weapon, outnumbered, outgunned, but not broken. He signaled Sarah. She threw the drone decoy. It exploded mid-air, releasing a storm of false signals. Guns misfired. Alarms jammed. The rebels dashed through the chaos. Marcus grabbed his sister and ran through the side corridor. Blood flowed down his leg, but he didn't stop. A blast shook the wall behind them. A Sha'tari guard aimed at Marcus's back, but then fell. A plasma shot through the chest. Ryzel stepped from the shadows. Marcus stared at her, weapon raised. Breathing heavy. Confused, she didn't speak. She just turned and shot another guard behind him. Then she vanished again. They escaped into the lower tunnels. Barely alive, but his sister in his arms. Safe, back at camp, no one could explain what happened. Who fired that shot? How they survived? But Marcus knew. And he didn't tell the others. He only looked at the stars that night and whispered 2 words. She helped. In the warship above, Ryzel removed her officer's symbol and dropped it on the Quoktir on the Fandi floor. She wasn't part of the Empire anymore. She was part of something else now. Something burning brighter than duty. Humanity. The wind carried voices through the hills. Campfires burned low as humans whispered stories of the battle. Some swore they saw a figure in black armor standing among the smoke. A Sha'tari who didn't shoot. A shadow who protected them. Most thought it was just a ghost, but Marcus knew better. His sister lay on a thin mat, recovering slowly. Her body was weak, but her spirit refused to break. She asked for weapons, for maps, for a place in the resistance. Marcus smiled, but inside he burned. They had used her as bait, hurt her, lied to her. There would be no forgiveness now. Ryzel moved through the underworld of the ship. No one reported her. Her rank had been removed, but her skills were untouched. She accessed old tunnels, unused ports, hidden corners of the great warship. Her name was no longer spoken by her people. She liked it that way. She tapped into a secret frequency, one the humans didn't know about. But she didn't speak. She just listened. Marcus's voice came through, clear and angry. We take the supply line tomorrow. No more small attacks. We cut their throat now. His plan was bold. A full assault on the main Sha'tari convoy hub. Their weapons, fuel, and food all passed through that point. Destroying it would mean weeks of chaos. It would also mean death if they failed. Ryzel felt something sharp in her chest. She had studied tactics all her life. Marcus's plan was good, but not perfect. He didn't know the inner codes. The shifting patrols, the underground turrets buried beneath the dirt. If he attacked now, most of them would die. She had a choice. Stay hidden or act. That night, Marcus's team prepared their gear. Sarah packed the explosives. 2 scouts marked the path. His sister sat beside him, watching quietly. You sure about this? She asked. Marcus nodded. They won't stop until we bleed them dry. Before sunrise they moved, 30 humans. Only half trained. The others were survivors with broken bones and big hearts. They didn't look like an army, but they moved like one. As they neared the convoy hub, Sarah's scanner beeped. Turrets underground, buried. We can't get past without triggering them. Marcus swore. This wasn't on any map. And then his cum crackled, a voice, calm and deep. You're walking into death. Marcus froze. Who is this? The voice replied. Turn left. Follow the old riverbed. There's a blind spot. Use it. Sarah looked at him. Is it her? He didn't answer, but he followed. The team moved down the dry riverbed, silent and fast. They found the blind spot exactly as described. No turrets, no sensors. They reached the fuel containers. Time to plant the charges. And then the sky lit up. Enemy fighters arrived early. Someone had triggered a tripwire. Blaster fire rained down. Humans scattered. Sarah yelled for cover. One man was hit in the leg. Marcus dragged him behind a steel beam. The mission was falling apart, until Ryzel appeared. She came down from the ridgeline like a falling star, her cloak ripped, her blade glowing. She struck the enemy from behind fast and deadly. One shot, one kill. She didn't protect her people anymore. She protected something else, the humans. She moved through smoke and fire, opening paths, jamming signals. The rebels pushed forward, following the chaos she created. Marcus looked up and saw her standing beside the fuel tanks, watching him. He held the detonator. Their eyes met. She nodded, and he pressed it. Flames erupted into the sky. The Sha'tari convoy hub turned into a wall of fire. Fuel lines cracked. Crates exploded. The mountain shook. And above the smoke, the Sha'tari war signal went silent. They did it. Back at camp, the survivors cheered. Some danced. Some cried. And Marcus just sat under the night sky, wiping blood from his cheek. He wasn't thinking of victory. He was thinking of her. She had vanished again, like a shadow in the storm. But her presence had saved them all. Sarah dropped beside him. You going to tell the others? No, he said. They don't need to know who helped us. But you'll see her again? Marcus didn't reply. He didn't need to, because deep in the forest, Ryzel stood alone. Her body burned, her armor cracked. But her heart felt calm for the first time. She had turned on everything she knew, and gained something stronger. A cause worth fighting for. The fire at the convoy hub burned for 2 days. Sha'tari command was silent. Their transport network was broken. Supplies stopped. Orders froze. Fear crawled through their ranks. Not from an army, but from one man, Marcus Cain, and someone from their own blood, Ryzel. She had become a whisper in the dark. Her own kind called her traitor. But to the humans, she was something else. A ghost. A protector. A blade that turned. Inside the rebel camp, the mood had shifted. They were no longer survivors. They were soldiers, builders, leaders. The camp had guards now, training grounds. Engineers fixing old weapons. And children helping carry supplies. Hope was growing. But Marcus knew it wouldn't last long. The Sha'tari wouldn't stay broken. They were regrouping. Soon, they would strike harder than before. He gathered his team and showed them the latest scan. The High Command cruiser, he said. They've landed it in the Black Crater. It's the center of their whole system. That's where they're building something. Sarah frowned. What kind of something? Don't know, Marcus said. But if they finish it, we lose this war. He pointed at the map. We hit them before they finish. It was suicide. The Black Crater was a dead zone. No cover. No routes in or out. But it was the heart. If they could cut that out, the rest might collapse. Everyone looked to Marcus. He didn't blink. We do this, or we die slow. High above, Ryzel stood in an abandoned listening tower. She had tapped into the cruiser's comm logs. She heard the orders, saw the plans. The Sha'tari were building a weapon that didn't destroy cities. It erased them. A pulse cannon. One blast could vaporize a mountain. And they planned to test it on the rebel camp. Her hands tightened into fists. She couldn't wait anymore. She activated an old beacon, a forgotten Sha'tari distress signal. She sent it on a hidden channel, not to her people, but to Marcus. He received it an hour later. It came as a pulse, no message, no voice, just coordinates. Sarah raised an eyebrow. Her again? Marcus nodded. Same frequency. Could be a trap. Could be our only chance. That night, under thick clouds, Marcus and his team followed the signal. They crossed scorched plains, crawled through dry riverbeds, moved through ash and dust. And at the center of the coordinates they found her. Ryzel stood alone, helmet off, blade on the ground. She didn't raise her weapon. Marcus stepped forward. "Why?" she answered softly. "Because I saw what you are." She handed him a small data cube. Inside were full schematics of the pulse weapon, guard rotations, weak points. The main power core hidden below ground. Marcus stared at the cube. "You're giving us your Empire's secrets?" "No," she said. "I'm giving you a chance to survive." Sarah stepped closer. "Why help us? You're one of them." Ryzel looked at her. "Not anymore." They made a plan together. One strike team would draw the patrols away. Another would plant charges on the energy vents. Marcus would lead the final move into the command core. Ryzel said nothing more. She turned and vanished into the hills. But Marcus knew she would be there. The next night, they moved. The final battle began. Explosions rocked the crater's edge. Smoke filled the sky. Drones screamed through the air. But the humans didn't fall. They ran forward, fired back, fought with everything they had. Marcus stormed the central tower. Blades clashed. Gunfire echoed. He reached the control room, only to find it crawling with elite guards. Then Ryzel crashed through the ceiling. Her blade lit the room. Together they fought side by side. Blood sprayed the walls. Sparks burst from broken lights. One by one, the guards fell, until only silence remained. Marcus limped toward the core panel, ready the detonation. But Ryzel stopped him. "There's one problem. The pulse cannon has a living core." He looked at her. "Meaning?" "Meaning. Someone must stay inside to hold the sequence." He froze. She didn't. She stepped into the chamber, placed her hand on the core plate. Marcus grabbed her arm. "You don't have to do this." She looked at him, eyes glowing soft gold. "I do. This is my war now, too." Before he could speak, the door sealed. The cannon began to hum. Outside, Sarah's voice shouted on the com. "We see the pulse. Did you activate it?" Marcus's voice was quiet. "She did." A light filled the sky, and the cannon exploded from the inside. The crater turned to fire. The weapon was gone, and Ryzel with it. The firestorm from the crater burned through the night. Even the stars seemed to hold their breath. The Sha'tari weapon, their final answer to Earth's resistance, was gone. So was Ryzel. The shockwave reached the rebel camp by dawn. Dust rained from the ceiling. The children cried. But when they stepped outside, they saw something that made them fall silent. The Sha'tari ships were retreating. One by one, their cruisers pulled away from the sky. The noise of war faded. No more bombing runs, no more patrols. Just quiet. The kind of quiet the humans had not felt in years. They didn't cheer. They didn't dance. They only stood still, watching the sky, waiting for it to be a trick. It wasn't. Marcus stood at the edge of the cliff, overlooking the crater. His arm was still bleeding, his ribs cracked. But he didn't feel it. His eyes were locked on the scorched valley below, on the blackened shape where the cannon once stood, and the ash-covered ground where she had last been. Sarah walked up beside him. "You think she made it out?" He didn't answer. She didn't need him to. They held a small ceremony that evening. No priest, no songs, just a ring of stones. A broken Sha'tari blade planted into the soil, and a small fire crackling like a whisper. Some humans didn't understand why Marcus honored an alien, but those who had fought Beside him knew, she didn't die as a commander. She died as one of them. In the days that followed, more Sha'tari defected. Some brought information, some brought supplies. Some simply dropped their weapons and walked away. They had seen what Ryzel did, and they understood. The humans were not weak, the humans were not prey. The humans had earned something no war could. Take, respect. Rebuilding began slowly. The ruins were cleaned. The fields were cleared. Old radio towers flickered back to life. A new signal was sent out, not a call for help, but an invitation. We are alive, it said. We are free. And we remember who helped us. Marcus spent most days in silence. He trained the young ones, taught them to survive, to build. But every night, he returned to the cliff, to the ring of stones, to the blade in the dirt. One night, weeks later, Sarah found something strange near the edge of the camp, a small black cube, pulsing with light. She brought it to Marcus. He stared at it, heart pounding. He pressed the top. Ryzel's voice filled the room. If you're hearing this, then I did not survive. Or maybe I did. Maybe I walked into a new world where my name means something different. She paused. You asked me why I helped. I never answered. Her voice softened. Because I watched you from the shadows. And I saw something I never saw in my own kind. Mercy, strength, love, not weakness balance. A long silence, then one final line. Tell them I chose this, not as a soldier, but as a friend. The message ended. No one in the camp spoke that night. No one needed to. From that day on, her name was written on the wall of honor, not in paint, but in carved stone. Ryzel, the one who watched, the one who fought, the one who chose. And every year, on the day of the final battle, humans lit a single fire at the cliff's edge. No speeches, no flags, just fire. To remind themselves, they were not saved by weapons. They were not saved by numbers. They were saved by a choice, by the eyes that once watched from the shadows and then stepped into the light.